The story began in a kingdom that seemed to cover a very large amount of space. It had buildings that included many rooms and high towers, extending as far as one could see. Close to this place, there was a beautiful tall building that acted as a shining light for those who traveled near the emperor's strong castle. Little villages and breathtaking landscapes were around the surprised-looking fortress. The corridors of the manor were filled with the sounds of happy cheering because the people there had a deep admiration for the emperor, praying fervently for him. It appeared the Emperor Leon Cavala's hand-picked special force team had a single purpose: to protect him. Jan, the commander of the special forces, showed his annoyance at the continuous conflict with the other special force commanders. He went on about saying it was all nonsense and that every commander was a puppet in front of an emperor. Amidst the fight, Jan confronted a strong opponent loyal to the emperor. The battle happened in a scene of destruction, with fires burning and disorder everywhere. The strength of the fight matched the dedication to the duty and honor, showing how people's fighting spirit remained unbeatable when they stood up for what they believed in. The picture showed the strong dedication and bravery of a person, highlighting how human strength could overcome difficult situations. It also brought to mind the idea that every person had their own story, one marked by struggles and battles fought in the name of loyalty. Jan and his competitor stood facing each other while the sound of their swords striking one another filled the air. The blades met, making a loud crashing sound, and sparks flew out from them. Each hit was given with a deliberate and dangerous commitment, like their lives depended on it. Sweat ran down their foreheads as they both tried hard to force one another away, with not much struggle but plenty of strength in their muscles. The people watching looked on with surprise and worry, experiencing the combination of thrill and anxiety that accompanied observing such a basic competition. Now it was clear. The struggle involved not just bodily force but also willpower, personal traits, and mental resilience. The moment said much about the human soul capacity to persist and overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. Jan's opponent was a formidable figure, towering over him with a commanding presence. His broad shoulders and muscular frame spoke of countless hours spent honing his combat skills. He wore a suit of armor that gleamed in the flickering light, showcasing the undeniable power he possessed. The weight of his armor seemed almost insignificant to him, as he moved with a grace and agility that belied his size. His face, hardened by years of battle, was etched with scars that told stories of past victories and defeats. His eyes, sharp and piercing, seemed to hold a fire within them, a burning determination to protect his emperor at all cost. With every step he took, the ground beneath him trembled, as if acknowledging his indomitable spirit. Jan could feel the weight of his opponent's presence, a force that seemed to fill the entire battlefield. It was as if the very air around him crackled with energy, charging the atmosphere with an electrifying intensity. The opponent was more than just a physical threat. He was a symbol of unwavering loyalty and unwavering strength. Jan knew that defeating him would require not only skill and strategy, but also an unyielding resolve to overcome the odds stacked against him. When Jan walked into the castle, he moved unsteadily and one could see that his body had many bruises and scratches. His face showed a lot of pain, which made it clear that he was in a tough fight before he came inside the castle. The emperor, sitting on his grand throne, lying when he saw Jan's wounds, and without thinking, held his sword tighter. He remembered all of the things about Jan's life story, and recalls how he went from a simple soldier slave to becoming a commander. Memories came back to him of the hard days he had in the Special Forces training place called the Pit of Solitude, showing how much strength and ability one needed to keep going to get through those challenges. The Emperor looked at Jan for a long time, his eyes going over the scars that spoiled what was once perfect skin. He felt uncomfortable thinking about the terrible things Yan probably went through when he was forced to be a soldier. Even though the Emperor held much power and control, he still had a small feeling of guilt. He thought about whether there was more that he could have done to keep Yan from indulging in the horrors of war. Yan, feeling the Emperor's inner conflict, looked into his eyes, showing both tiredness and resolve. He knew the heavy history he carried and the dark shadows that stayed in his thoughts. Yan spoke with a voice that carried pain and also strength. He talked about the many tough fights, the people who died, and what sacrifices were necessary at the time. He told them about his fellow soldiers in these struggles, those who were there fighting against him, and others who did not survive. Listening, the Emperor felt begrudged. He looked past the scars and body injuries, seeing Yan's strong spirit that did not give up. The Emperor thought about how strong this human was, to overcome hard times and become a sign of hope and not giving up. The words of Yan stayed floating in the silence that filled the throne room. The Emperor, as his hold on the sword became less tight, started to understand Yan's path in a new way, being still confused why he chose this path against himself. He saw that Yan's tale was about more than staying alive. It was also about surviving and not giving up on chasing freedom. At that time, the Emperor promised to always remember what people such as Yan had given up. He wanted to respect their past and make a world where nobody suffered from being slaves or the pain of war. When Yan's story ended, the look on the Emperor's face became more and more dangerous. He extended his hand, giving comfort and empathy to the man who had suffered greatly. Their connection grew weaker, built from common experience and a non-shared wish for a world without the burden of suppression. At this time, Yan understood that even though his days as a slave were finished, the battle for justice and freedom had not yet concluded. He would join efforts against the Emperor and build a future where nobody had to suffer through the same dark experiences he went through under the Emperor's cruel manipulation. At the same time, the narrative returned to the Emperor, who seized the fairy and fiercely split her in half with his teeth, while Yan's heart was stabbed by the Emperor's sword. He was struck with a surprise accompanied by a mix of feelings and thoughts in his head. In vain, Yan's eyes closed and he heard the voices from afar calling his name, trying to say something to him. As he lost consciousness, the voices started getting deeper and deeper, and he kept hearing them say, "Wake up, Yan. Wake up, Yan." As he started processing the things happening, he recalled being stabbed in the heart, questioning how even he was still alive. He tried opening his eyes. On calming down, he realized that the place where he was standing looked familiar, and that he was standing in front of a huge pillar. As he tried to remember things, he recalled that the pillar he was referring to was the Great Stone Sword, which was a symbol of the Special Forces Training Hall. One could not count the number of soldiers who died in front of that Great Stone Sword in horror. After wandering through the place, he looked at himself. His body got shortened, and he was wearing the same clothes that he used to wear when he joined the Special Forces as a recruit. In this confusion, he turns back in a flash. As soon as he turns, he sees the reflection of someone from behind with a punch. As arrogant as he seems, it was the Special Forces 12th recruit, Roman. He tried to process everything that has been happening to him from the past few events. His body getting smaller, his clothes changing, meeting up with past recruits. He summed up that he had returned to the past. Thinking about it, he had no reason to return to the past, but what seemed important at that point was that he gets to start again. And now, the current him wouldn't make the same mistakes as before, and that this would be his time to behead the Emperor. As he greets Roman, Yan joked that he still had no girlfriend when he was 40 years old. Yan joked that nigga had no girlfriend when he was 40 years old. Enraged from the disrespect, Roman tries to attack him again, but his punch was too slow. He instantly changes to the rampaging Chaos 7th formation, but still, it means nothing to Yan. After dodging Roman's strikes with little to no effort, he instructed him that you should only attack after closing the gap between yourself and your opponent. In short, Roman wonders how Yan was able to produce a punch like this using an intermediate level skill. But as Yan walked away, he found a pendant on the ground. Inside it, he found an old photo of 3 people. A photo of a young man, woman, and a boy. Tears started flowing down his face. Memory, love, and family, these words for 30 years are finally coming back to him. He promised himself he wouldn't waste his time on that same mistake with something like revenge. No, he's going to escape. And he's going to get his life back. The life he had with his family. The special group had a history of completing many missions for the Empire, tasked with things like demolishing Verna fortresses and taking out the top dukes in the northern areas. They always communicated directly with the Emperor himself. Yan, known for his counsel to the Emperor and praised as the mightiest warrior due to his intelligence and combat skills, led them. However, Yan now faced a strange situation where time had inexplicably transported him back to when he first joined the Special Forces at their base. During that period, he had only been a lower cleaner within the Special Force, what they called a purification team. The training ground for elite soldiers consists of over 1,000 troops. Brutal daily battles for survival resulted in the deaths of 3 to 4 soldiers every day. The castle's grandeur and the main practice area, Dargon Den, truly were impressive. Upon entering the vast open space, one was immediately greeted by towering stone walls adorned with intricate carvings and detailed patterns. The castle stood tall in the center, its towers reaching the sky, exuding a sense of power and might. Dargon Den, at the heart of the training area, was a sight to behold. The expansive space accommodated over 1,000 soldiers, all diligently training to improve themselves. The practice field was meticulously designed, incorporating numerous obstacles, areas for combat practice, and designated weapon storage throughout. The constant clang of swords and sound of battle filled the air, creating an atmosphere brimming with unwavering determination and perseverance. Inside the castle, a complex dungeon added to the air of mystery and intrigue, serving as a training ground for close-quarter combat. The dungeon, with its shadowy hallways and hidden chambers, resembled a metaphor for the challenging tasks that awaited those who dared to dream of greatness. It represented not just overcoming physical obstacles, but also developing the mental fortitude needed to persevere and ultimately succeed. Each fighter within the fortress belonged to a rank structure determined by their performance. Those training inside the hall were both students and formidable fighters, constantly pushing themselves to excel. They needed to perform exceptionally well in tests, demonstrate their strategic understanding, or exhibit courage in battles against other soldiers. Moving up in the ranks was a challenging feat. It was reserved for those who consistently proved their value and commitment. Within the Grand Castle and its main training area, Dargon Den, the fervent desire for greatness was palpable. The soldiers trained relentlessly, sacrificing much, while the imposing structure served as a constant reminder to strive for improvement. This place was a crucible that forged heroes. It was here that warriors were shaped forcefully and where the Empire's strength grew. Nestled in the northern mountains, it also boasted a messy complex within its walls. People serving as soldiers in the corridors and the guards received ranks based on their performance. Exceptional results in tests or victories against other soldiers led to more advanced rank. Treatment varied based on one's position within the hierarchy. The numbering system functioned as a method of managing new soldiers, with those of lower ranks being pushed down while those above them climbed over. Surviving in these conditions was no easy feat for a soldier at the bottom of the rank from the 900th batch. Ordinary low-rank trainees were expendable, If one died, they were quickly replaced. As a result, they were frequently used for manual labor or to assist others in their training. The main character considered himself fortunate for not having a more dangerous job and only having to perform labor tasks. On his way back, he was bumped into by some of the trainees, who upon noticing him bowed slightly, likely because they were nobles. One of them even apologized for not walking carefully and picked up the boxes that had fallen from him. In this system, the high-ranked soldiers were heirs to the empire's nobility. To ensure their loyalty to the empire, the continuation of their family lines, and the control of other noble families, these nobles would join the special task force. While there, the training center ensured their comfort and exempted them from having bugs implanted in their heads, as their nobility essentially made them prisoners already. The high-ranked trainees maintained their high ranks and enjoyed the associated privileges and benefits. The three top trainees were Lerona Beowulf, Cruel Dwight, and Kasha Everrain. The scene then shifted to Lerona apologizing for dropping the boxes, while Cruel expressed his confusion as to why someone of noble trainee status would apologize to a lower-ranked soldier. If the main character possessed similar strength to him, they might have fought. However, Jan chose to use his intellect instead of his might. He simply apologized, and they parted ways, leaving him behind. After some time had passed, and as he began to calmly converse with higher-ranked soldiers, he sensed a presence on his way back to the storage room. It turned out to be Lorena, a highly skilled trainee. She stood quietly strong among her friends, moving gracefully just like she does when she's using her sword. Practicing with smooth motion, she showed the powerful determination hidden under a peaceful outside appearance. Her gaze, deep and full of thought, showed she had a strategic mind. Lorena was humble and easy to talk to even with her impressive abilities. She gave advice to people who needed help, and her colleagues started to respect her a lot. But by her face, you could tell there was a piece of bad news that she had for Jan, as he had secrets he was keeping too. Individuals holding high-ranking positions desired to apprehend outlaws that were too elusive even for the royal military forces. One notorious outlaw was Blue Iron Arm Galdir, who committed his initial murder at the age of 11 and had organized a band of thieves by the time he was reaching 20 years old. As a real nigga, his past showed that he had attacked 23 villages and 17 bands. His single arm could withstand a legendary metal, symbolizing terror. But Lorena Beowulf managed to capture the Iron Blue Arm Galdir herself, which was the sole reason they accepted her into the Imperial Knights. Her family was known as the Beowulf Duchy, and they were one of the top 4 noble families governing the northern Snow Mountain region. A knight from her family had mentioned she could become recognized as the most powerful female sword fighter in all lands. When she met Jan, she asked him about his purpose. Why hide your real power? He said he didn't know what she was talking about. He was too much of a real nigga. He don't talk about something, he just do it. But she kept on, saying that she saw him in a fight with Roman and noticed Jan hitting a very quick punch. Why did he remain a trainee with a low rank? Yet, he continued by stating those facts were incorrect and informed her that she must be mistaken. She continued to apply the single punch to him. He got hit by it. Jan acted like a regular individual unfairly attacked by someone of high status, which awakened feelings of remorse in Lorena. Jan, surprised by the sudden hit, stepped back unsteadily while holding his side because it hurt. Lorena realized that her thoughts were not right, and her face showed a little bit of shock and worry. She had thought before that Jan was hiding his real power, but now, seeing how her 1-inch punch had affected him, she understood he was not as simple as she first believed. When the pain went down, Jan raised his eyes to Lorena, with the strong will shining in them. Feeling sorry about her behavior, she assisted Jan with moving the boxes. He discovered that she was quite chatty, more than he thought before. However, to his surprise, she remembered how Jan attempted to predict her actions during the earlier confrontation by observing her hands closely. As she arrived at the destination for moving things, she took off, but not without cautioning Jan that she would be watching him and they would cross paths again soon. If so, Jan thought about killing Lorena immediately, because it would be simple for him to do so. However, if he did choose to take her life, the entire Beowulf family would turn against him, and that was not a smart reason to die, when his goal was to get away from the training base. He remembered times as a special task force commander. He witnessed many deserters attempting to flee the training center. Many did not succeed, but they found one who ran away into the woods from the camp. He endured harsh treatment, torture, and finally spoke. He mentioned a place, the third section, the fifth stall at the unused restroom, with the walls hiding a way to flee. He recalled the fifth level and attempted to search for the way out as instructed by those who fled, eventually discovering an exit. Jan entered the abandoned restroom, locating the exact spot described by the deserter. Inside the restroom, a hole provided an escape route from the special training hall. However, as he sat in the jail answering for the roll call, a realization dawned on him. The more missions one had under their belt, the more cautious they had to be, and the more meticulous their planning needed to be for a successful outcome. He only had one shot at escape. Even if he had managed to break free, a pursuit squad would be hot on his heels. He needed a more elaborate plan. While his mind possessed all the knowledge of the techniques, his body couldn't quite keep up. To remedy this, he performed the Dark Dragon's breathing, a mana circulation technique exclusive to Special Task Force commanders. Its purpose was to lessen the burden on the body and create an energy core that functioned as a mana engine. However, in such a limited time frame, forming an energy core solely through the Dark Dragon's breathing was impossible. Only one option remained: the Divine Dragon's breathing. This energy technique had a severe impact on him. An aura visibly coursed through his veins, and powerful, thunderous energy surged through his body. Mana overflowed within him as if a dragon had taken residence inside. The Divine Dragon's breathing was a secret technique belonging to the first emperor, the founder of the empire who conquered numerous nations with a single sword. Jan, captivated by the technique's might, had personally sought it out. But now, he had become distracted, and despite his relentless attempts to sustain the flow, all the mana began to dissipate from his body, his efforts to form an energy core failing miserably. His mind drifted back to the time he learned this secret method from the first emperor. He recalled the emperor handing him a scroll containing instructions solely for mana intake, devoid of any guidance on increasing its density. Curiosity gnawed at him, his mind brimming with questions. Was the omission of the compression techniques intentional on the part of the first emperor? Jan pondered the significance of this missing section, wondering if it held a secret key to unlocking an unknown power within the scroll. As he delved deeper into thought, he began to perceive the scroll as potentially holding more than what was readily apparent. Perhaps a hidden method or a veiled message lay concealed within the instructions of mana intake. Jan's mind raced with possibilities, eager to unravel the secrets locked away in the enigmatic scroll. The next day, everyone had gathered in the halls, where some thought there was a rumor of being released. Jan knew that that was just a dream, and now was a time that he really needed to stay out of everyone's sight. As if on cue, Roman kept calling out for Jan, trying to find his whereabouts. And in that moment, the instructor showed himself, and then announced to the whole squad, "Shut up, you vermin!" causing everyone to experience agony. When he spoke, the instructor used the aura voice echo, a technique where one infuses mana into their voice. Jan, unaffected, knew exactly who this was. The Special Task Force Training Center Instructor Commander, Damien.